Guys, I'm so traumatized. Like, being a black woman in a corporate space absolutely traumatized me. Like, I'm actually traumatized. Like, I can't. Like, I just can't do it anymore. Already, everyone admits to having to play the game while at work, yeah? But as a black woman, you're playing several games at the same time, and it's so frustrating. As a black woman with anxiety, the amount of pressure, you are under to mask, and I mask, and I mask, and I mask, but it doesn't matter, because when someone has a certain perception of you, your behavior towards them will not change that. Can you imagine, yeah? Can you imagine already having to tone police, right? You tone police, then you're masking your anxiety, right? You're tone policing, masking your anxiety. I wake up sometimes, my nervous system is a flipping mess. I wake up sometimes, I'm on high alert. I'm on fight or flight. Like, my adrenaline levels are insane. Like, I wake up sometimes and it's just really hard to function. And I am quite high functioning with my anxiety, right? But can you imagine having to do all that and mask and still be being told, yeah, that, oh, your nervousness comes across a certain way to people? Are you joking? Black women actually do not have the luxury of having any other emotion that isn't positive being perceived as anything but aggressive or negative or da-da-da-da. Do you know how insane that is, to have to now take into account how people perceive your anxiety and regulate it at the same time and play the game in a workplace? You are not responsible for other people's perceptions of you, especially in the workplace, especially being a black woman in the workplace. People already have a perception of you, and you're not responsible for that. But it is honestly traumatizing, and I'm holding a deep anger being confronted with the reality that this is just what it is. This is what it is as a black woman working in a corporate space. This is just what you will go through, and this is making me want to opt out so bad. Like, I'm not on board. I say this because I hear and I see so many stories that mirror my own. Like, people saying the same things that I've been told. When people say to you, oh, we can't really read you. Like, it's so frustrating to me, because what are you trying to read? What are you trying to read? I've said what I mean, and I mean what I say. Oh, by your face sometimes, we don't know if you're on board. We don't know if you've pissed you off. Mind you, you've sent, oh my God, amazing idea, and 3 exclamation marks in the Slack channel. But that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Because people have their perceptions of you, irrespective of what you show them. They're just looking for anything to match up to what they really think about you. There's just a deep, deep sadness in me. There's a deep sadness in me, and I feel sad, and I feel sorry, for the girlies who also, like me, may have anxiety, who may have mental health problems, who may have ADHD, who may be autistic, neurodivergent. Like, I feel really sad for us. Not even in a pity way, but there's just something in me, like I'm mourning something, and it's just like, I think it might be the hope, and maybe it's naivety of me, like the hope that people would just seek to understand you, and you don't have to play these games, and who you are is enough in the workplace. But there's just politics around your whole existence, and that for me just feels so traumatizing, and I just don't really want to participate in it. I don't want to participate in it. Like, it's 8 hours every day for 5 times a week. I'm really sad about it. I'm sad for us as black women that in the workplace, it's just part and parcel of being in a capitalist society. We just have to perform.
Yeah, I think my parents probably viewed mental health as a white people problem.
Can I keep going?
Being a black woman with social anxiety or depression or anything of that nature.
This is all facts. It's so sad that as black women, we're not given grace for having these mental health conditions like depression or anxiety. But baby, when you are African, it hits so different, because not only are you rude or disrespectful just because you have a difficult time speaking up when there's a lot of people in the room or calling your family back home, they go to an extent of thinking that you have a spiritual illness, as if one of your aunties or your uncle did juju to you. We just can't win at all, and it's sad because mental health is so real, and this is the reason why a lot of us don't grow up to be functioning adults. And we consistently blame ourselves for the things that's wrong with us, when it's not us, it's just the conditions we find ourselves in.
You have to try to understand where your parents are coming from. For example, my mother
has anxiety. She will never admit that she has anxiety. She would never accept that she has anxiety, but she is the most anxious person I know. And as a black woman who grew up in Nigeria, it manifests in the ways that society will allow her to let it manifest. Meaning, she's not just there crying on the floor, stressed out, having panic attacks. No, she's not allowed to do that. She would never do that. She can't do that. The way that anxiety manifests in my mum is via anger and control. I really had to take a second, like, okay, you're upset that I did not come home by the time that you wanted me to come by, even though I told you that I would be late, because you're worried for my safety. But I already told you who I was with. I gave you their phone number. My location is on. I have done everything in my power to ease your anxiety. But at one point, I just had to say to my mum, you're projecting your anxieties onto me and it's not fair. Your anxieties and your fears are not my problem. That really hurt. But I had to say it because you're ruining my life. You're projecting that onto me, so much so that I have anxiety coming home. I'm afraid to come home. I'm shaking. That was when I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I should not be anxious to look at my phone when I'm 3 minutes late for my curfew. I should not be anxious to come home past midnight when I'm being dropped off and I'm chilling with church people. I'm not doing drugs and I'm with church. It's not right. And I didn't realize what I was doing was putting in a boundary at that time. I just knew that I didn't want to continue feeling like that anymore. And that's what I did. Bob's your uncle.
Is that with Black women, anxiety typically shows up as irritability.
Oh, I'm here to talk my shit. One big point that I really, really want to make is that diagnosis or not, your feelings and your symptoms of anxiety as a Black woman are valid. No, for me personally, I went undiagnosed for years, and I wasn't really aware of it until after college that, okay, like, sis is really struggling. And it wasn't like I wasn't taking my emotions seriously or anything because I've been in therapy since like middle school. I think it was the fact that I always felt this pressure that I had to be the best, I'm first gen. And also just being that strong person, whether it's in my family or my friend groups, like I had that pressure to just having to push through. And that did a number on my mental health, and I'm sure it's done a number on so many Black women's mental health. And a little bit more about me. So on top of my anxiety, I also have depression and PTSD. In order for me to cope, I had to start taking medication. Let's be real, there is a lot of stigma around mental health, but let alone that, just taking medication in the Black community. So, of course, I was a little skeptical at first, but to be honest, I feel like I wouldn't still be here today if I had not got on it. It really helps me cope through my everyday life and it helps me function. And I'll be honest, there was definitely a time where, I felt kind of embarrassed to admit that, yeah, I take medications to get through life. But now, at my big age, I really don't care. I'm really transparent about it. And also to the fact that, like, if someone else hears my stories, that might help them as well. But yeah, truly, I just want Black women to have peace. I want us to be able to rest and relax and take care of ourselves and really take care of our mental health. So, yeah.
Okay, here's the deal. I'm not an envious person. We all have our strengths. We all have our weaknesses. I get that. But I am not ashamed to say that I am a certified hater to people who have the natural gift of speaking. I personally think that's fair. You're God's favorite, so I'm allowed to hate just a little bit. I personally just was not born with the ability or the privilege to let words just See, what I was saying was words just don't effortlessly flow out of my mouth. This brain, she's a cocktail of ADHD, social anxiety, and just pure awkwardness. Constantly live in this weird space socially where it's either I have absolutely nothing to say, like actual crickets up here, or I have everything to say. I just don't know how to get it out and articulate it correctly. It's exhausting.
Being a Black woman with social anxiety or depression or anything of that nature means that you will never know peace in America. Because the way it looks on us is so different. People just assume we are negative. We're mad. We can't be at work and not talk. We cannot not be a clown. The moment we're not acting like a clown and being so happy, we're mad. No, I'm overstimulated. I'm tired. I want to go lay down. I'm stressed. I can't handle it. I'm not mad. I don't care about y'all.